Hello. Today I'd like to tell you guys a story about an East German camper, the Wartburg 353, and this 8 and 10 millimeter wrench. This is a Quack Aero camper from the 1980s, made in East Germany. So was the car in front of it. The car is a Wartburg 353, also from East Germany. Just so you can put this whole thing into context, I gotta tell you, I was raised in Hungary. And I left in '99. It was way after the Iron Curtain has fallen. But I did go to East Germany quite a bit, and then visited a family there when I was about 13 years old. And I was there for a couple of summers. And also in Hungary, this Wartburg was quite common, so was this camper. So let's start with the car and the wrench. So here is this 8 to 10 millimeter wrench. It's made in East Germany. It says it's super steel. And it's made by WFR Radesbull DDR. DDR is the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, that means East Germany. The price is on it too. It says EVP 0.95, so it was 95 cents to buy this one. Can you talk about fixed pricing when you actually casting the price on the wrench? So I have a friend who has a classic car magazine, and he was growing up in the 70s, late 60s. His dad actually bought one of these in 1970, and it was exactly like this car, what you see here. And every time they got home, they lived in a block house, like a 4-story block house. Every time they parked in the garage, the house ordinance said that you had to remove the battery cables of the car. So hence here comes the 10 millimeter original East German wrench. They parked, got the wrench out, popped the hood, took the battery cable off, went upstairs. So my friend grew up with this procedure. So years goes by, and just about probably 10 years ago, he accidentally finds this very wrench, which started this whole story. And this was actually his dad's wrench, what he used to pop that battery terminal. So he said, I had such a good time with my dad, and it was so nice to have that car. Why don't I just buy one and then try to restore it and make it a really nice car? So that's what he did. He found a really good condition Wartburg 353 from 1970, the exact same one what he had, and then started the restoration process. He thought you can still buy parts for it in Hungary, which was kind of wrong because for a 1970 you really couldn't really buy anything. So he had everything taken off the car. He put us on a rotisserie, and they painted the bottom, they sandblasted everything, painted it, they prepared the frame and powder coated the frame, they cadmium treated every bolt, and so on. So he totally restored this car. So it's spotless, it's beautiful. Well, I won't go that far, it's still a Wartburg 353, but the condition is great. So he starts driving it, and this damn thing was keep breaking on him. Every time he drove it, it broke. The engine seized, the brakes start leaking. There's all kind of problems with it. So it got to the point where he was so tired of it, he just said, I don't even gonna drive it. So it was sitting in his garage for a while. He was trying to sell it. Nobody wanted it because you can buy a Wartburg like this for probably about $2,000, a very nice one. And he spent a lot of money on this. So finally, I seen it. One day he shows up with it when I was in Hungary. And he says, "Ooh, that's beautiful. I never seen a Wartburg this pretty, or this nice, or this good of a condition. Let's leave it at that." And then he said, "Well, I wanna sell it, but nobody wants to buy it." I said, "Well, I don't want to offend you, but I have a little money, so would you sell it to me?" And he says, "Well, okay, fine, just take it." So I got the car from him, and now it's here in Kentucky. It's got Texas plates on it. I still need to change that over to Kentucky. We used to live in Texas for a while. So anyhow, this 353 has a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke water-cooled engine. Let's open up the hood and look inside. You're gonna see some interesting things in it. Like mainly the radiator is behind the engine. And the reason for that is because long time ago, the older ones, like IFA cars and other older cars, they had these fenders outside, and the whole nose of the car came like this, and then there's no space for the radiator, so they put that behind. And they kept the original orientation, and hence the radiator is still there. A little bit later in the 80s, they changed it and they moved that radiator to the front, so you have a different grill on those cars. Those are same body style, but they're a little different. The little front part, the front grill is different on those. So since it's a two-stroke engine, it doesn't have a camshaft, and somebody very wisely, they call it the OHF or OHS engine, the overhead shaft engine, because there is one shaft in the cylinder head, and that's for the water pump. So this is where it gets the drive off of, and then here's the fan on it, and then the water pump lives in that house. And by the way, there is a screw on it what you can unscrew and then bleed the system to make sure all the air comes out of it, otherwise it's not working right. You can see there's a thermostat housing and the exhaust down there. It's technically 3 different engines in one housing. So they are in one crankshaft, but they have separate ignitions. They got 3 coils, as you see there, and they have 3 points in the very front. In order to get to them, you either take the license plate off and there is a hole where you can get to it, or you can take this whole cover off by 4 nuts, and then you can access the ignition very easily. Yeah, as you can see, he found everything for it. Even went that far that he bought these covers. These covers are always disappearing because they fell off very easily. He also bought the original tires for it. So these are Pneumont tires. If you can see here, it says Pneumont, made in German Democratic Republic. And there is one which hasn't been on a car before. It still got the hairs on it in the back. So that's the spare tire. If I can open it, you can steal this one. It's still hairy. Of course, we got a first aid kit in the back and other stuff. The original jack sitting on the very far right. And every single bolt, like on this one, you can see it's all nicely prepped and cadmium treated and done on it. Apparently these taillights are very expensive because they're very rare. The reverse light is here and not on the other side like on the newer versions. And then of course there's a trailer hitch on it, which I'm really excited about because I had this camper already for it. So there were different campers made. Some were made for the Trabant. And I don't know if you know what a Trabant is, but I happen to have one of those also. But this car was the full-size car, and the Trabi was the smaller version of it. So this one, both cars, you had to wait just about 18 years for one in East Germany. There was most of the cars were exported, and there was not too much of a material, so there was a material shortage. So the manufacturing of these cars were not going too well or too fast, so people had to stand in line to get one. So when the kid was born, usually they paid for the car, and then by the time the kid gets his driver's license, they were able to take delivery of the car. So they were quite expensive. Even as soon as it came out of the well, there was no showroom, but as soon as they took delivery, it was already worth a lot more. So people were doing that for business to sell these off. Also, the parts were a very interesting thing because they had to make a lot more spare parts than these cars actually needed, although they needed a lot of spares because they were breaking a lot. But everybody was, they hoarding spare parts. So anytime they had some sort of spare part came into the car parts store, they just bought it up and stove it away and then put it away. They only needed one exhaust system once every 5 years or 10 years, but they had like 5 of them stashed away, or cables or coils and all kind of things what they needed, or tires. So they had to manufacture a lot more spares than this car actually needed. The later models, they changed the door handles. This is the older, the chrome door handle, and for later on they actually changed it to a plastic piece. Oh, there's my help. My little doggy just went under it. I don't know why. So the later models had the plastic pieces. This is still an old version with the white rubber underneath. That's an important detail. And this door actually looks a little bit different. The newer ones are a little bit, the door scheme was changed as well. So if you look inside, there is the 150 kilometer per hour. That's a little bit optimistic, but you got a temperature gauge, a tank gauge, of course 4 on the tree, not 3, it's a 4-speed transmission. Not easy to shift because it's very smushy. And then it was providing seats for 5 adults very comfortably. Of course, it's not a 1970s Mercury, but it was kind of comfortable car in European standards. You can't have an East German car without an original bubble head dog. And that has to be in the back to show everyone that you like dogs, I guess. And then next to it is the Hungarian language Wartburg repair manual to see how to repair it if it breaks down, which is guaranteed. It always breaks down. So if I go out for a drive with this and then if nothing breaks, I kind of feel like I was cheated out. Every time I go for a drive in it, I'm gonna have to fix something on it, so it always keeps me busy. But if you can look down there, they're very nicely prepared. They cadmium cheated every bolt, and then the frame is painted and everything was nicely done on it. Here's the shifter linkage down there, which is kind of finicky. Finally I was able to dial it in, so I got the reverse properly, and it actually works nice. My little doggy was thinking we're gonna go somewhere, but not today. You heard that little clank. Let's try that again. This is like a really authentic sound of a Wartburg door. You can hear it. Gong. So let's start it up. So we are inside. Make sure it's in neutral, and let's try it. Start it right up. You can hear the sound of it, that you can count every individual explosions in the engine. And there's no same explosions in it. There's always somewhere different. So that's why it's so uneven, because you got 3 different engines in one casing or one housing. It's got a really nice little quiet sound to it. I worked a lot on the ignition, so now it works really nicely and starts right up. If you happen to have one of these overflow tanks, you're a rich guy. This thing cost a lot of money because they only made it for a couple years, these square looking ones. I already was able to source 2 of them when I was in Germany, but they're very pricey and nobody actually sells it because they know what they have. And of course it burns oil. It's not exactly environmentally friendly, but you can see it here. Yeah, it smokes. It's a 2-stroke. And back then you were able to buy 2-stroke fuel at the gas stations in Hungary and East Germany also. In fact, I was there not too long ago, next to the MZ factory. MZ was an East German motorcycle manufacturer, and they still had mixed fuel for sale. I guess there was a lot of motorcycles and maybe some cars were using it. So my friend who restored this car, he went so far that he even found this little piece what goes there to protect the paint job on that rod on the hood prop. So it's just mind-boggling how much effort he put in it. So let's go close this hood down. Oh, I can't do it with one hand. Okay, the prop is secured. It's down. So we call this version the Piglet stealing version. There was a tourist version, it was a station wagon, and this 4-door sedan, we call it the Pig Stealer edition because people were able to go to the villages, and it has a really big trunk, and they were able to steal piglets from farmers in it. So if you put a whole bunch of pigs in it, or your family's stuff in the back, the whole car gonna sit, right? Because it's so much weight in it. So therefore they developed, I think it was a requirement in Germany. So in the front light, to make it go down, you actually have a little switch, but you can make it change the angle so the other people on the road will not get blinded. I have one of these featured in the SL Mercedes, what I have, 280 SL, and that's actually vacuum powered, and you can do it from the inside of the car, but this one is on the outside. The Trubbies had that too later on, where you can adjust it, so if you have too much weight in the back and the whole car's tail is dragging, then you're able to move the lights down so it wouldn't blind the other drivers. Before we start looking at the camper, I wanted to show you under the car, how does it look like from underneath. I think when it was new, it did not look like this. Yeah, this is a very nice job what this guy did in Hungary, fixing this thing up. The story behind this camper, it goes like this. There were some savings account raffles in Hungary where you put your money into the bank for a savings account, and then you were able to win certain things like washing machine, television, cars, or a camper like this. So the person who actually won this camper didn't know what the heck to do with it. They're not exactly a camper branch, so they just pushed it into the garage, and that's where it sat for years and years and years. That's how it survived. So at one time they took it to Moscow, I heard, and then another time they went down to Lake Balaton. That's a big lake in Hungary, and other places, but really didn't use it too much. It was mostly sitting in the garage, and it was covered up with all kind of things. So when I bought it, we put it behind a little Opel, which I borrowed from one of my friends, and we went around Germany, France, Austria, and Hungary with it. And then we brought it to the US and put it behind my 71 Buick wagon, and we took it around the West Coast, went on Route 66 and many other places. You can see some of the stickers what we put on. We went on Highway 1 and 101 in Oregon. We've been to that roaring camp in California, of course the Grand Canyon, the Big Texan, one of my favorite places. Then there's Germany, the Neuschwanstein place. This is where the Disney castle is. Interflug was the East German airline which I used to travel with when I was about 5 years old, and then again when I was like 13 years old. They flew the IL-18 turboprop airplanes with the 4 engines. This was their old sign. We actually been to Santa Cruz with this thing, and then the LeMay Car Museum in Tacoma, Washington. We've been to Berlin, the Redwoods in California, and here it is. This is on Route 66, the little bunny attraction next to the road. And this is the old Hungarian sign. You had to always have a sign on your vehicle that where is your vehicle is from. So H was for Hungary. DDR was for East Germany. This is a metal sign made out of the same material as the license plates are. And again, DDR was the Deutsche Demokratische Republik. Germany, the West Germany, was just a D. So if you cover up the R and the first D, then you only had one D. That was Deutschland. That was Germany. And now, of course, it's all gone now. So finally, it's a unified country again. This is a relic from East Germany, and the Germans really like camping, and they went to camp with all kind of things. They went with a tent. We went with campers like this, and it's still a very popular thing in Germany to go camping. So let's look inside what it looks like. So therefore there's a lock up front, and then there's a little click where we can click it in, and then you have this. This is an add-on, and you can open this up on the bottom. There's another latch down there. They added these things to it, but I left it on because that's how it came. There is a fridge. They added that fridge to it. This is a Hungarian-made fridge made by Lehel. That's the brand of it. And it's still here. There's some matches from Prague, because we've been to Prague as well. And of course, it's a little bit moved around. This back parts goes here. You can put this table down, and then it doubles as a bed. So it's got a really nice big bed in it, and I got some places where you can hold things. And then under here, you can see the original East German gas, the natural gas tank for the stove, which is also original to that. On the roof, you can open up the roof with these things. The biggie is that these screws going into the fiberglass up here, and they tend to come out. And if they come out, this whole roof disappears. So it's really hard to find one if it disappears. So in Germany, I heard that in a camp that is disappearing, and I replaced those bolts with through bolts in Germany. So when we drive down the road, we'll not disappear. We don't lose this thing. And sure enough, 3 of these screws out of the 4 was almost falling out, so that was a really good idea to change those. Outside of the camper we can observe the Trabant wheels, and this vehicle actually has independent suspensions underneath. And then in the front there is a Trabant handbrake. It's actually out of a Trabi, so when you don't want it to move, you just pull this one up and then it mechanically stops the wheels. It's like a mechanical brake. Also there is that sliding part on it. If you see this, it slides in and out, and then you can see this rod. This wheel mechanically actuates the brakes on it. Then the way you can unhook it is there is a little push button on it. There's a little push button on it, and you can pull it all the way forward and then lift it off. And of course there is a wheel but you can turn up and down to when you take it off the car. This is the manufacturing plate on it. It shows you that it was made in 1988 by Quack Aero, and I can't pronounce all these things, but Henningsdorf, that's the place where they made it. The fab means that's a government-owned factory which made this camper. On the side where you see these parts here, there's actually a little channel here. So it's here, and you can put a tent in front of it, which I also have. It takes a lot of work to put it up, but it's worth it if you camp somewhere for a week. And you can double the size of this thing. So there's the tent which you can attach to it and make it up. There is no floor, but there's definitely like 3 sides of it. And then it makes a really nice yawning, or actually like a full tent, which we put up in Germany once when we were staying at one spot for a longer time period. So one more thing is missing from all these things is a roof rack on that Wartburg. So the roof rack would include a surfboard, like a windsurf, or a whole bunch of stuff what people would have when they were towing these things. So this Wartburg is a front wheel drive, 3-cylinder, 2-stroke car, smoking like hell. Think about this going down the freeway with 80 kilometers per hour, and then towing this thing behind it, and they're heading down to Lake Balaton from Germany or to other places. This was a regular sight when I was growing up. So this is my East German setup. I like to go to car shows with it, and it's a good place to hang out and hide from the sun inside the camper. We call this camper, we named it the dollhouse because it's so cute. It's inside, it's so little nice little precious little things in it. So we named it the dollhouse. We haven't named the car yet. I guess the last owner named it the White Crow because it was so rare to see one in this condition. So the White Crow is pulling the dollhouse.
We're all going on a summer holiday. No more working for a week or two. Fun and laughter on our summer holiday. No more worries for me or you for a week or two. We're going where the sun shines brightly. We're going where the sea is blue. We've seen it in the movies. Now let's see if it's true. Everybody has a summer holiday, doing things they always wanted to. So we're going on a summer holiday to make our dreams come true for me and you. We're going where the sun shines brightly. We're going where the sea is blue. We've seen it in the movies. Now let's see if it's true. Everybody has a summer holiday, doing things they always wanted to. So we're going on a summer holiday to make our dreams come true for me and you.
Meanwhile, in West Germany, people were driving these kind of Mercedeses, and the East German people were, if they lucky, they were able to drive one of these things. So I hope you guys had fun. Thank you for watching me, and see you guys next Friday with something else. Bye.